What's up, y'all? So I think a lot of you might be able to resonate with this video, so hear me out. So today I want to talk about how gymnastics rings have become a key component to my mental health routine, and also how they've been a catalyst for me to find balance in a city that isn't always the easiest to live in. Also, I'm going to be taking you guys through a mostly gymnastics rings workout. The first exercise I'm doing right here is backwards rolls. And today was a special day because I was able to finally complete the back roll without ring assistance. As you guys can see right here, I finally got that back roll. A little shaky, we got to work on the stability, but I was finally able to do it without assistance. I tried to get another set in and see if I could make it a little bit more stable, but I failed on the next set, so I moved on to the next exercise. But before we get into the rest of the talk and the rest of the workout, if you guys are new here, my name is JD. I'm a 40-year-old hybrid athlete. I'm also a personal trainer. I use calisthenics, running, and weightlifting as my primary modalities of training. And I've been living in San Francisco for about 3 years now, a little over. And even though I've been living here for almost 3 years, it feels like one of the most difficult transitions to actually move to San Francisco. Even though I'm from the East Bay area, the Oakland area, which is only about 30 minutes away right over the Bay Bridge, it's a very, very different environment. And before this past 3 years, I hadn't lived in the Bay Area for, maybe 9 or 10 years, almost a decade. San Francisco is the most expensive city to live in the United States. It's the tech capital of the entire world. The weather is mild, but I would say on the colder side of mild all year round, which isn't my favorite. There's a lack of a calisthenics culture here. And I believe they say that San Francisco has around a 3% black population. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like 3%, which sometimes can make me feel a little out of place. At the very least, let's just say the city doesn't exactly align with who I am, which is fine. I don't necessarily believe that every place should be a perfect fit. I think that it is on us to transcend our environment and create the best life that we can in that environment. So before I started these muscle ups right here, I was doing wide L-sit pull-ups. That's a movement I got from my boy Payday J. He's been working on getting that wide muscle up, so I figured why not try my hand at it and start working some of the progressions that I've seen him doing in the videos. Today I also wanted to get in some explosive pulls and I wanted to get in some weighted pulls, so I decided put it all together, get some weighted ring muscle ups in. I ended up getting to a 45-pound plate by the end of this muscle up session. But back to my transition into San Francisco, or back to me living in San Francisco. For those of you who have been a part of my journey, who've been following my channel since I was living in Hawaii, you probably remember all those videos I used to do where I would chop it up with you guys while working out at the calisthenics parks, the various calisthenics parks all over Honolulu and all over the island of Oahu. You also seen that I had a good community out there. I had my homeboy James. There were some OGs that be at the park. It was just a good lifestyle overall. At a certain point, I decided to leave Hawaii, but I took my movement practice and I pretty much took my lifestyle with me around the world. I found calisthenics parks all over Brazil. I found calisthenics parks all over Argentina. You always find like a home-based calisthenics park in every place you go. Did some traveling in Europe, found calisthenics parks, stayed in Taiwan for a while, found calisthenics parks and, found a small community of people out there. All over my travels, I've been able to find calisthenics parks, calisthenics community, like-minded individuals. And for whatever reason, San Francisco has been one place where it's hard to find people to connect with. There's only a few calisthenics parks out here, and there's virtually no calisthenics community. Also, San Francisco is very corporate, and most people seem to be concerned with career mobility and making as much money as possible, which, is understandable, being that this is a city that is extremely expensive to live in. I would say San Francisco is a city built for the wealthy. But with all that being said, and, my mental health has been up and down since I've been living in San Francisco, just to be transparent. But one thing that I really got into over about the last year and a half is I really got into training on the rings. And when I mean training on the rings, I mean just going hard on the rings. Previously, I used to do a lot of bar work when it came down to calisthenics, but recently I've got obsessed with the rings when it comes down to ring handstand push-ups, back rolls on the rings. You know, every once in a while before I would do some pull-ups and dips on the rings, but now that's just been kind of a religious component to my workouts, muscle ups on the rings, every movement that you can think of on the ring. The rings have become my primary training tool. I do about 75% of my upper body work with the rings. One of the best things about gymnastics rings is how mobile they are. You can pretty much take the rings anywhere you have a basketball hoop or a tree or anything really. You know, I work out on the rings at the crib. I started it off all by wanting to get into nature a little bit more. I thought that would be good for my mental health, so I started going to this area called the Presidio, which is kind of like a nature reserve in the middle of the city. And I started hanging up the rings on a tree there. Then that turned into going to random parks around the city and hanging the rings up on basketball hoops around the city. Now the rings have become my escape from the hustle and bustle of the city. I can go to a random park in a different part of the city, do a little bit of exploring, and escape the world for a minute and just be in the present. I'd say that when I'm training on the rings or just training in general, especially when I'm by myself, it is probably one of the best ways for me to stay in the present and really focus on the now. All right, as you guys can see here, I took a break from the rings and I brought out the parallettes and I started to work on the 90-degree handstand push-up. You know, the previous movements I was doing took a lot of energy out of me, so I wanted to see if I was able to hit some 90s today. And, you know, you'll see here that they started to come along nice, and I actually ended up finishing my last set with a set of 4 on the 90-degree handstand push-ups. You know, in a city that's full of tech, financial stress, screen time, and people who are caught up in a corporate system, the rings give me that challenge that I need in my life. We all need a challenge that we enjoy in our life that can take our mind off of the daily stresses, you know, the things in our life that make our life difficult. Progressing at these challenges that we enjoy is part of what makes life worth living. You know, living in a stressful city like San Francisco, not necessarily feeling aligned with the people in the environment here is some of my challenges. I'm sure that you have your own set of challenges. A lot of you guys probably have challenges that are way more serious than the ones that I'm going through. But if you guys are going through some challenges in your life, like feeling out of place in the environment that you live in, maybe you guys are having a hard time finding a community, you know, I'd like to recommend that you guys pick up a pair of gymnastics rings. Pick up a pair of gymnastics rings, get out into nature, and see how far you can progress on those rings. Now, if you guys want some help progressing on the rings or help progressing in calisthenics in general, go to my website, hybridathlete40.com, and I'm actually coming out with a gymnastics rings program. So you can get on the waiting list by filling out that intake assessment on my website. Another thing I want to mention about mental health and about my own mental health journey is that there's no quick fix to problems that you're dealing with in life. And calisthenics workouts or gymnastics rings aren't going to be the answer to all your problems. For me, you know, I feel like I've started to find balance again in life, and I'm starting to feel some of the same balance that I felt when I was living out in Hawaii or some other parts of the world that aligned better with me. But it wasn't just the gymnastics rings workouts. It just wasn't just the calisthenics. It's been a combination of things. One of the things is that I started posting on YouTube again. And, you know, my lack of calisthenics community here in person in San Francisco, YouTube and my YouTube community has made up for that. You know, I really appreciate the support that I get on this channel, and I'm really glad to have you guys a part of my community. Seeing some of the same names in the comment section and interacting with you guys is really priceless for me. Another thing that I did, which has really helped, is I got off of the other forms of social media. I deleted the Instagram app, I deleted the TikTok app, and those more addictive short form content apps where you can kind of interact with people and, they get really addictive and you get that dopamine fix. Getting rid of that has also helped me find a lot of balance as well. Another thing that ties into mental health, which, goes along with the rings, is the sunshine that I get from when I'm outdoors, the exploration that I get when I'm exploring my environment. Before I started this workout right here, I had met up with one of my best friends, my boy G. We had went and got a coffee at a new coffee shop that I had found a couple weeks ago. So, these are all things that can be enjoyable, even when you are having a tough time adjusting to a new city, adjusting to a new job, adjusting to new school, whatever it is that you're going through. Finding balance is key in life. Sunlight, movement, finding a community, and staying present. Those are all key components to becoming the best version of yourself. Now, if you guys got some value from this video, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new to the channel. I know I was looking at my YouTube analytics and it said 90% of the people who view my channel are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're not subscribed, I'd love to have you a part of this community. Also, if you guys know anybody who could benefit from this video or any other videos that you guys have watched on my channel, go ahead and share those videos with a friend. Again, if you guys are interested in learning more about calisthenics, optimizing your body, optimizing your performance, go ahead and go to my website. That's hybridathlete40.com. Fill out the intake assessment. You can book a consultation with me and we can see if it's a good fit for online coaching. If not, you guys can follow along with more videos that I have online about calisthenics, about hybrid training. And again, thank you guys for checking out the video. It's always good to chop it up with you guys. I hope everybody's having a great day out there. I'll holler at you guys later. Peace.